All right, we're back here on SportsLine. We mentioned Mookie Betts selected to the American League All-Star team for the first time. Nashville native going to play in the Midsummer Classic next Tuesday night. Ben Zobrist, who lives in Franklin now, selected to the All-Star game for the third time. Last year he was an American League All-Star for the Kansas City Royals, went on to win the World Series title. Maybe playing for the World Series favorites right now in the Chicago Cubs, and he is part of a huge Cubbies contingent headed to San Diego for the All-Star game next week. 7 Cubs headed out to be a part of the National League All-Star team, including Zobrist. They're going to make up the entire National League infield. Anthony Rizzo at first, Ben Zobrist at second, Addison Russell at short, Chris Bryant at third, all the way around the horn. It'll be Cubs. Dexter Fowler, if he can get healthy, will be the starting likely center fielder, but outfielder from the Chicago Cubs for the National League. And then you still have Jake Arrieta, likely starting pitcher for the National League. He's one of the pitchers selected, as well as John Lester, who's had a terrific season this weekend start in New York, notwithstanding, for the Cubs this year. So 7 Cubbies headed to the National League team for the All-Star game next Tuesday night in San Diego. They will be joined on the NL squad by catcher Buster Posey. He will be the starter from San Francisco. And then the other outfielders, along with Fowler, Yoenis Cespedes of the Mets, and Bryce Harper, who's had kind of a down year numbers-wise, still hits a bunch of home runs. He will be in the outfield for the National League. The reserves for the NL, Jonathan Lucroy, catcher of the Brewers, Wilson Ramos, catcher of the Nationals, first baseman Paul Goldschmidt of Arizona, Will Myers of the hometown Padres. Then the second baseman, the backup for Zobrist, will be Daniel Murphy of the Nationals. A lot of people thought he had a good argument to be the starter over Zobrist, but the fans obviously voting in the fan favorite in Chicago. Nolan Arenado of the Rockies, Matt Carpenter of the Cardinals are your backup third baseman. Corey Seager of the Dodgers, another guy who people thought should get serious consideration to be the starting shortstop. He's been so good here in his first season with LA. He's a backup. Adam Duvall, 23 home runs in the first half of the season. He is an outfielder for the Reds and now an outfielder for the National League. Carlos Gonzalez, Odubel Herrera, Marcel Ozuna are your other outfielders for the senior circuit. Pitchers, we mentioned Arrieta and Lester from the Cubs. Madison Bumgarner, former World Series MVP, left-handed pitcher from the Giants, will be there. Another Giants pitcher, Johnny Cueto, will be in San Diego. Juris Familia of the Mets, Jose Fernandez of the Marlins, Kenley Jansen of the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw, who's right now on the disabled list, so who knows what his availability will be next week. But he's had such an amazing start to the season. Also selected from the National League, as well as Pittsburgh closer Mark Melancon, Marlins reliever A.J. Ramos, Fernando Rodney of the Marlins, Steven Strasburg of the Nationals, Noah Syndergaard, or as they call him, Thor of the Mets, and Julio Teheran of the Braves, who has had a terrific season for a team that has been underwhelming, to say the least, so far this year. Your final vote candidates in the National League: first baseman Brandon Belt of the Giants, outfielders Ryan Braun of the Brewers and Starling Marte of the Pirates, third baseman Jake Lamb of the Diamondbacks, and Rockies rookie shortstop Trevor Story. Those are the 5 guys that you can go online and vote for the final position on the National League All-Star team. Home Run Derby coming up on Monday night in San Diego. That is always fun. Should be fun again in Petco, although that is very much a pitcher's ballpark. So we'll see what that does to the numbers for the Home Run Derby on Monday night. And then Tuesday night, the Midsummer Classic in San Diego. Still deciding who has home field advantage for the World Series. A rule I really don't like a lot about Major League Baseball. Just a couple minutes left here on this segment before we take our final break. Baseball is going to be interesting in the second half of the season. I think the Cubs have been the story so far this year, but they haven't played very well for the last week or so. Is that pressure starting to catch up with them? Is that bullpen starting to catch up with them? Their starting pitching has been very good. Arrieta's been good. Lester obviously having an all-star campaign. Hamels, Hendricks, those guys have been really good for the Cubs to this point. The bullpen is a question mark. And my big question mark for the Cubs as you move forward towards the postseason, because they're going to get to the postseason and they're likely going to win the National League Central. But when they get into the postseason, last year they got beat up by the Mets in the National League Championship Series because the Mets have a bunch of top-line starters who throw hard, and they had a lineup that could handle some of the Cubs pitchers. And as good as the Cubs lineup is, they have a tendency to strike out some. And so if you go against a team with some really good top-end pitchers, which, let's face it, when you're looking at the path just in the National League, they're going to probably have to go through the Mets like they did last year. And that great starting rotation of the Black Knight, of Thor, of all those guys out there. Colon, you throw in the mix, who's got starting experience in the playoffs and lots of it. They'll have to go through the Nationals or the Dodgers. They're going to have to beat a good pitching staff. And I think they can match them, but that lineup's going to have to make contact. They're not just going to be able to swing for the fences. And then the other problem is in these tight games. When you're in a 3-2 game and Arrieta or Lester or whoever gets you to the 7th inning, do you feel confident if you're the Cubs passing the ball off to that bullpen right now? So if I'm Theo Epstein, who's done a terrific job of building this roster, what can you get at the trade deadline that helps bolster that bullpen? I think that's going to be really important for the Cubs as they move forward, because they're good. They're going to get there. They've got a great lineup. They've got good starting pitching. But you need all those things to be clicking in the postseason, and that's the situation that the Cubs face right now. All right, we got to take our final break. We will come back and wrap things up on another edition of SportsLine right here on News Channel 5 Plus right after this.